So welcome everyone. My name is Mary Eleanor Power, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications with Dalhousie University's College of Continuing Education. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that Dalhousie University is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. We are all treaty people. And I'm delighted to welcome you to today's webinar, How to Support Clients Through Job Loss Grief to Job Search Success. And I'm especially delighted to welcome Lena McClure, who's joining us to walk us through the next half an hour. Lena is a case manager at Veterans Affairs Canada in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and previously worked in employment services as a career counselor for over 6 years. She is a registered counseling therapist with the Nova Scotia College of Counseling Therapists. She has worked in the nonprofit sector for over 10 years, supporting a range of clients, including those with mental and physical challenges to become job ready. Lena has a strong background in peer support, connecting with clients with diverse needs, and working with community partners to provide a broad range of supports. Lena holds a Master of Education in Counseling from Acadia University and the Introduction to Employment Services certificate from Dalhousie University's College of Continuing Education. She is a Canadian certified counselor with the Canadian Counseling and Psychotherapy Association and a member of the Nova Scotia Career Development Association. We're so delighted to have you with us today, Lena, and now over to you. And actually, before you begin, let me just say that if you have any questions or comments in the chat, please feel free to add them there, and I will jump back in as needed, and we can address them throughout. So thanks very much, everyone, and over to you, Lena.
Thank you so much, Mary Eleanor, for the introduction, which is always awkward for me to hear that, but I'm one of those people. If you would have said, just here's Lena, that would have been cool with me, but welcome everybody. I'm so glad you joined me on this beautiful sunny day in Nova Scotia. As many of you, I am sitting at home in a nice shirt. We won't talk about what's below the line, what we see. If anybody's wearing their jammies on, power to ya. And today we're going to talk about something that's really important right now, because I think you'll find this a lot of what I'm talking about today within yourselves, as all of you are really transitioning to really changing in different work environments, and on the bigger topic of clients in transition of employment. When I used to facilitate this course, it was called The Experience of Unemployment. And it's a course I took myself through Dal, and then I was asked to facilitate it. And certainly when we decided on a new title, transitions management just kind of made more sense. And the reason is just exactly what's happening at COVID now. All of you must be experiencing strong emotions because of the changes from COVID. I know I'm working full time, but I'm working from home right now. I'm sitting in my living room. I don't particularly have an office. My spouse has an office. There wasn't a plan for me to work from home. At any minute, I'm expecting my 17-year-old to walk down the stairs and get ready to go to high school, or my husband to walk in. So as much as that stress causes you, those really big differences in how you work and that feeling of being lost and maybe not connected to your peers, can you imagine the emotions and the depth of emotions that can happen when people either lose their jobs, are terminated, fired, or maybe it's their choice to leave their jobs, like retirement, or perhaps they've had a medical challenge where they can no longer do the work. There's many, many factors why people are no longer or in transition of their work. And this course really looks at the impact and of the emotions of job loss. And why is that important? Well, certainly you may have clients, if you're really interested in to get into the employment field, or if you're new to the employment field, you may expect clients to come to sit in. You're going to be your awesome self. And certainly you can show the next part of the slide there, Mary Eleanor. You expect to be your awesome self, and you have the tools of the trade, which we all have at our fingertips. And sometimes it's the first things we learn. But then you have client crying in your office, and you're like, okay, what is this? I need to understand this. And transitions management, I hope, is going to give you the tools to be able to lean in, to support your clients really well, and just continue to increase your tools on to help clients better, listen to clients better, have empathy for clients better, and therefore just be a better career development practitioner. So it may be surprising to some of you or not that the 5 stages of grief, which you may have heard about before, which Mary Eleanor is going to push us through here. So we kind of relate these stages of grief to losing a loved one. But there's lots of evidence out there that these stages of loss, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, you're going to see those in job loss too. As you all know, job loss is really attached to identity. So when people lose their jobs, or even when they choose to move on from a job, as I said, like retirement, they may experience these really intense emotions. And let's look through them here. So the 5 stages of grief, as Kubler-Ross presented a long time ago, again, in relation to grief and losing a loved one. The first is denial. So what you may hear is, and I've written some sentences here on paper because I'm old school, I use pen paper. Maybe something like, I can't believe this happened. Of course, you may hear that a lot, but you also may hear, you know what, I don't believe this happened. I think somebody's either going to buy the company and we're going to keep going, or they can't make it without me. I played such an important role in the company that they're really going to suffer. So those denial sentences like that. Anger is one you'll common see, and especially depending on how they left or were terminated or were laid off from an employer. There can be a lot of anger, and certainly if somebody is in an anger narrative, an anger emotion, a lot of the great tools you're trying to give them probably won't sink in. So if somebody's really anger, and it may be feeling like they were sabotaged, it may be that feeling not heard at their last employer. It could be lots of reasons why people have anger towards their last employer. And you're saying, I think we should really get your resume going. They may not hear those things. Bargaining is one that you may see as well. And that may be things like, I'm willing to work for less money if I can keep this job. Maybe they'll take me back and things like that, or trying to explain to themselves why they lost their job. Now, depression is one that you're going to commonly see, depression or lower levels of the blues or some anxiety. You may often see lots of tears when people speak about their job loss. In my experience as a career counselor, I saw lots of tears in my office in regards to job loss, and certainly some really tragic stories about how people lost their job. And you must consider that when people don't know, have a good day. Oh, told you. When people don't know why they've lost their jobs, there's always this sense of some non-resolution. And if you're like me, if I have a sense that I don't know, or I can't control, or I don't know why, and I can't kind of have a resolution, it can go on and on and on, that sense of why did this happen, right? Last stage that Kubler-Ross presents us is acceptance. Now, that may look like, okay, I understand now, I lost that job. I'm willing to move on, and perhaps I'm willing to accept those great tools that an employment specialist has to offer, like resume, interview skills, how to network, and all those things like that. So those are the 5 stages that we'll look at in transition management. They're kind of one of the core things that we talk about in the course. We can go on to the next slide. So, you know that you're awesome. Why do your clients get stuck here? As I mentioned, not having a sense of understanding why you were terminated or laid off can lead to a sense of being stuck. They're not really accepting those great tools you have to offer. So, what do you need to do to get clients unstuck, to get them listening? And certainly an important part of this is those 5 stages I mentioned. Rarely are you going to see clients go through those in the list I've set them out as. They're going to go back and forth and in between things. And one thing that came to me, because I'm facilitating this course right now, is certainly as you offer clients tools to job search success, what may happen is those very tools can send them into a depression. For an example, and I know those of you that work employment services have experienced this. Somebody feels like, or you have a sense that they're ready to go to take some workshops to learn how to network. They may get into that networking workshop and it feels very overwhelming to them. It feels very overwhelming to them. That's a lot, especially during COVID. I don't even know what networking looks like during COVID, right? A lot of phone calls, a lot of Zoom chats, a lot of connecting in different ways. And now suddenly people are back into a depression. Maybe they come to you and say, I don't think I can participate in that workshop. So you're getting quite stuck there. And I think in my experience as a case manager and a career counselor, I knew if we didn't address those emotions of job loss, if we didn't take time to listen and validate and kind of pick apart some things, we weren't going to get unstuck. So next slide, please, Mary Eleanor. So you may be wondering, how will this course help and how will all the courses help? So transitions management is a one course in a bigger picture that's going to give you the tools to just be so much better employment specialist, so much better resource person, so much better career development practitioner. Transitions management is sort of the first course, so it helps people who are getting into the fields to sort of understand who their clients are going to be across from them. But it is only one of four. So let's look how this course will help transitions management. So we're going to explore the factors and variables and how they contribute to the emotions of job loss. So obviously, everybody has a different experience with job loss. You may have, I may have, and certainly I'm cool with telling you all a story. And Elaine, who's on with me today, can appreciate this one. I worked with a very small little organization in the big picture of with Nova Scotia Works. We weren't successful in getting a contract, and so suddenly found myself without a next job in mind. And even though I felt like I had some great skills, I felt like I had some great education, I had a moment of, certainly, am I even in the right field? I had kids in elementary school. You know, all of those factors are going to contribute differently for different people of how they experience job loss. We're going to learn how to listen effectively and create supportive, engaged working relationships with your clients. So I know a lot of you may use tools, and this is also included in any level of being an employment specialist. You may have a database like LAMPS. You may have some tools that you use that make your work and case management easier. And certainly you may find times when you're sitting across from the client on your computer typing away because you really need that information and you need that data. But there's going to be times when you're sitting with your client, there's going to be many, many times when you really need to step away from the computer, which is important stuff, and really be engaged and listening and picking up on those really big clues to help you move past this point of the stuckness. And that may mean having pen and paper, but this course is going to teach you how to listen very effectively and be a better listener, be an active listener. So we're also going to talk about how to support clients as they deal with transition and move forward to job search success. So it doesn't have to happen that people experience these emotions and can't work towards moving forward. They often happen at the same time. So this course helps you with little hints and tricks and tips to get that movement of moving forward so they can have job search success, feeling good about themselves again, having some wins and some positivity. And that gets you back to being awesome, right? So that gives you the tools and allows you to get back to being awesome and using those tools that we know work: resume development, networking, learning how to go through interviews, those really, really good tools. So if you're finding that you're stuck with your clients and need to know more about the stages of grief and how it is truly, truly very much like the grief of losing a loved one. Not to say that's not a horrible grief, but that transition can be as intense for people as they go through job loss. I'm trying to think. I thought about, don't you hate that when you think of something while you're talking and then I can't think about it, what I was going to say again about the transitions. So now there is more. More. As I said, this is only the first course, and the reason why we did this as the first course in this set of initially 4 courses was that initial sitting down. It felt like the initial sitting down with clients and sort of understanding, and this was an important part to start. So let's look at the other classes that are in this course. There's me and transitions management. We have theories, models, and strategies of careers development, very important. Career decision making is another that I facilitate, and supporting career searches. There's some advanced level courses as well that are coming that are really important. So does anybody have any questions initially as I go through about job loss? I'm pretty happy to tell stories as well, to give examples, or to tell you about some of the students that are in my class right now.
We have someone who raised their hand here. Oh, that's Darcy, sorry.
I love it, love it, love it, love it.
But feel free to add any questions or comments in the chat here. We have 13 people joining us, so welcome your experiences if you'd like to share.
Absolutely.
Mama, thank you.
I have my toddler here in the background, if you can hear him. He's very...
Transitions, yep, transitions.
Are these courses developed with the NSCDA partnership?
They are developed with the NSCDA partnership. Yep, absolutely. I think that may be on the next slide, actually. Thanks, Elaine, for asking. I mean, the NSCDA absolutely has an important role to play in our certification in the province, and there's certain qualities that career development practitioners need to have to really practice well in the province, and that's very, very important.
I think one important piece, Lena, if you can speak to it, is just, you know, you have a lot of personal experience and professional experience that you bring to this. Can you speak to kind of the course design and how those experiences might come out or be like structured as part of the course design?
Absolutely. So the course design can look like we really trying hard to be as engaged as possible. So this time, these new sessions are the first time that regular Zoom sessions are involved. So I do tonight, actually. I'll be facilitating a Zoom session with the class. So we're really trying to get our faces in there so people can meet us. We have written assignments as part, some active discussions as if we were sitting in a room talking are part of what we're doing. We are really sensitive to learning and universal learning at every level. So that means sometimes we're going to give you options. For example, one of the latest assignments we've done, we said, you know, do the paper or send a video, you know, either option. We're sensitive to how people learn as well. I want to say that every classes are fun, you know, the 2 that I do are fun classes. You know, we really get to know each other. I really appreciate we have a journaling portion so people can speak very specifically just to me and we can answer back and talk about this. Talking about grief, it's not an easy topic, so we want to be sensitive to that. So there's a lot of conversation in our class and a lot of encouragement. If anybody is new to online learning, we really respect that. That's not, that's a learning curve as well as the information that we're putting in each. I'm trying to think discussions, assignments, Zoom. I'm missing one. Oh, and check for your like little quizzes at the end of each unit to see how you're doing with stuff. We use both research and academic papers to study. We may also use anecdotal, a lot of anecdotal. I'm sure you're like me, you learn best when people are telling stories. That's how I learn. And I really encourage students to share what they know, share their knowledge. These courses are all about sharing. One of the assignments we did lately is gathering resources in our communities, right? That makes you a better employment specialist. If you know your community, because you're going to meet people who can't meet their basic needs or have issues outside of finding employment, that are going to affect finding employment. And we need to understand our community. And another shout out to Elaine, who was my golden nugget mentor when I started in employment services, because she knew the community. And it didn't take long to realize how important that was, to know. So anyway, the assignment we just did was sharing those resources with each other. So you have that takeaway from your class of this, big book of services in your community or across Nova Scotia, because we do get students from across Nova Scotia, across Canada, and the States and international, and from every walk of life as well, wanting to learn about employment and employment transitions. So.
Lena, I wonder if you could speak to, just in the last few minutes we have, and I would welcome anyone to kind of jump in here as well, for someone who doesn't work in career counseling, but for just out of sheer curiosity, and I think a lot of what you're teaching is really just picking up on people's cues, I would say, like in some way, right? Because they're not obviously going to be able to articulate where they might be in the 5 stages of grief, right? So it's a lot of listening, picking up on their cues. Are there specific, in your role, in your line, are there specific kind of questions or ways that kind of approaches that you've used, that you've found success with, that really kind of help you unpack where someone might be in that journey?
I think that's a great question, and something I was thinking, that was probably what I was thinking earlier, Mary Ellen, I forgot, is courses like this give you the confidence to lean into those conversations, as you just mentioned. If someone's crying or really angry in your office, our nature may not to be lenient, and I realize we're all helpers, and that's why we've come to this work, but these courses like this give you sort of the confidence to lean in and say, hey, are you experiencing job loss grief? Because I don't know if you know this, but that's a real thing, to validate that emotion. And certainly beyond that, and your question was, there are keys. And I encourage anyone to sort of learn more about case management and more about active listening skills and how to get those little nuggets that client's talking that'll help you move them forward. For example, sometimes they can be chatting, their narrative is backwards, meaning to their past job, and they can say, what I really loved and what I really miss is I was part of a special project in which I did these things. Aha. So that conversation, that little nugget right there can lead me to say, I remember when you were speaking about this little thing. Can we talk more about it? Because that could lead us in a new direction. I mean, that's slightly career decision making, but it gets them future speaking. So those little nuggets, we're going to talk about those in the class. You have to take the class to see the nuggets, but those are all things that just, I think, make people a really well-rounded employment specialist. And more importantly, like I said, give yourself permission to lean into conversations, to validate emotions and to validate what they're going through, and to say, this is a real thing. Job loss, grief, it's a real thing. Did I answer the question?
Yes, that was great. And I'm just looking at the chat here. And so Elaine's saying, sounds like a fun course. I like the way you're delivering the content. So that's great. I just want to take the last few minutes that we have to just reiterate some of what Lena said, and then also to let you know that we are recording the webinar, and so we will be sending around an email to those who are able to attend today and those who weren't able to join us And as well, Lena has very kindly added an add-on to the webinar. So keep your eyes open for that email that will be coming, a nice little takeaway from today's webinar. And then also just keep your eye out for courses that are upcoming that Lena mentioned. The professional and leadership studies in career development will be live very soon, the certificate, but the courses are still available to register. So I would encourage you to check them out, and we will be including some of that detail in the email later today. I will just pause here for a minute and just open it up to any final questions, if there are any.
Come to see us. We would love to have you in all the classes. Share the word. I mean, they're wonderful. They're fabulous.
And Lena is fabulous.
Oh.
Elaine's going to share the word. That's awesome.
Oh, Elaine, girl. Thank you.
All right, well, if there are no final questions, I will just encourage everyone to, if you can, just spare a minute and fill out the survey that will be coming to you before you officially sign off of Zoom. Thank you all so much for joining us. Really appreciate giving up some of your time to join us today. And thank you so much, Lena, for leading us through this past 30 minutes. And if there are no final questions, we will sign off for now. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.